Hello everyone, I'm Razorblade Mango, and I'm here today to talk about the newest David Fincher film, Gone Girl. And as a precaution to everyone out there, I do have to warn you, this review will be spoiler-filled. I am going to spoil the hell out of this movie, and I'm only doing it because I thought about it and I went over it in my head. And I really wanted to do a review of this movie because I love David Fincher. I've been a lifelong David Fincher fan. And this, to me, is one of the more intriguing and divisive movies of the year. So, in order to fully articulate what I liked or disliked about the movie, I have to do spoilers. Because I feel like anyone that should get into a nice review of it should comfortably be able to talk about spoilers. So, if you haven't seen the movie, haven't read the book, don't want any spoilers, don't watch this review. I'm actually just gonna, if you've clicked on it by now and haven't realized that it's a spoiler-filled review, here you go. It's completely full of spoilers. So, this is your opportunity now to, and I really don't want to spoil it for you guys. Even if you guys don't care about spoilers, I don't want to spoil this movie for you guys that haven't seen it yet or haven't read the book. So, go watch the movie, then come back and listen to this review. So, David Fincher. I love this guy. I love David Fincher. I grew up with, not exactly grew up, but I discovered David Fincher when I was around elementary school. Because Fight Club was one of those things that a lot of kids at my elementary school, it was a cool thing in my 5th grade, 4th grade year to go, oh yeah, I've seen Fight Club. Fight Club is the shit, man. I fucking love Fight Club. And of course, I wanted to fit in like the conformist that I was back then. So I decided to watch Fight Club. And I thought it was great. I loved it. For more shallow reasons than why I do today. But hey, it was awesome. It was like love at first sight. It was one of those movies that has held up for me after all these years, which is awesome. And then I found Seven, because I'd long heard about that movie as well. I really liked the Roger Ebert review of it. Roger Ebert Siskel review of it. That is one of my all-time favorite movies. That and Fight Club are his top tier films that are so dark and disturbing, and yet expertly stylized and crafted, and they have this incredible pacing to them, and they're just so intense for two completely different reasons. Love both of them to death. And also, even without those movies, it goes without saying that David Fincher is one of the if not the most consistent director out there. Every one of his movies is at least good. At least. How often can you say that about anybody out there? I mean, even Kubrick and Bergman were considered to have their weak points. Not Fincher, at least in my opinion. Not Fincher. I can hear you people now. Alien 3! I like Alien 3. I will defend that movie till the day I die. And I just think it's a really fun, interesting gore fest. I don't really care if Newt dies at the beginning. Don't give a shit. Because I never really liked her from Aliens. And then the only film of his I would ever say that isn't is his best is Panic Room. And I still like Panic Room. But especially this decade, this guy has been on a roll. He did Zodiac, which is one of the finest films of 2007. Social Network, which is incredible. Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, which I love. I think that movie is one of the few films I can say is stylistically perfect. It's just this beautiful, unique combination of music and imagery and lighting and just overall feel and vibe and atmosphere. I stylistically love that movie. Love it to death. It's one of the few movies I went out of my way to purchase on Blu-ray just because I can't get enough. Even after almost 3 years, I still can't get its imagery and music out of my head, which I love. I love the music for Girl with the Giant Tattoo. And now we get to Gone Girl, which is not the... which is... I think it's a great movie. I think it's excellent. I think it's fun in a way that I didn't expect at all. So, it goes without saying, like, at this point, full spoilers ahead. Holy shit. Amy is fucking psychotic. Holy Jesus. And I intentionally never read the book by Gillian Flynn. I tried to avoid all trailers. And I'm glad I did, because what a ride this movie is. It starts out like typically like you see in the teaser trailer. Like, that's the one trailer I've seen for it, because I had to. It was playing before another movie I was watching, and it was like it's this basic story of how the media turns on people, and how, like, what is the mystery behind this missing woman? Will she be ever be found? Did the husband kill her? And you realize surprisingly early on, no. In a scene that just flips the whole movie in a different direction, Amy is alive and living and framed her husband for her murder, plans on living the rest of her life in secret, and, like, maybe to kill herself at some point. And that whole scene, I went, whoa! And I became more hooked into the movie, because at the beginning, I was kind of like, I don't really know about this. This is not really gelling for me, like, atmospherically or story-wise. Then when that comes into play, because I felt like it was too staged, I felt like some of the dialogue fell flat, the acting wasn't all that great. Once it's revealed what's really going on, that's when the movie became interesting to me. And it gave new meaning to all of the shit that came before it. And then it just goes crazier. And like a lot of people have said, this is just a Hitchcockian thriller, where it's just lots of double identity and betrayal and murder and theft. And of course it's David Fincher, so it's going to be R-rated. And it's bloody. Like, there's especially, well, not exactly bloody, one scene, yes, with the box cutter. That was, holy shit, that was fucking insane. I also love how dark this movie is. And how darkly funny it is as well. It's a lot funnier than I expected. Like, there's a lot of black comedy that has to do with, like, the news media being so obsessed with this case. There's a lot of, like, really funny quips that the Ben Affleck's sister, her character, makes in the movie. Tyler fucking Perry. Hell has frozen over, because Tyler Perry gives a great performance in this movie. Yes, I said that. Tyler Perry, Medea, gives a great performance in this movie. He is dead on awesome in this. He is, like, charming. He is very charismatic. He's funny. He has some of the best moments in the movie. Like, the comedy-wise, he has some of the best moments in the movie. And I wanted a spin-off of this guy. I forget his character's name. I wanted a spin-off of this guy. That's how much I liked him. And how much more I wanted to see on him. Whenever he wasn't on screen, I was kind of thinking in the back of my head, you know, I really wish Tyler Perry would appear right now. Never, ever in my wildest dreams did I ever expect to say something like that in my life. Because I hate Tyler Perry. I hate a lot of his movies. Well, I hate the idea of a lot of his movies. I hate whenever he's playing serious, because whenever I see him in, like, Alex Cross or that fucking Good Deeds movie he was in, he is so boring and awful. And in this movie, he just comes alive. David Fincher just extracts this new kind of Tyler Perry. Where the hell did this come from, Tyler Perry? Tyler Perry just needs to stop directing, stop writing, just continue to work with David Fincher. Continue to work with directors that know how to get great performances out of their actors, like Soderbergh and Fincher and Scorsese. Just do that. So while we're on the subject of acting, let's talk about that too. Because one of my main concerns with this movie was the casting, especially Tyler Perry and Neil Patrick Harris, and to some degree Ben Affleck. And while Tyler Perry was great, he was great. He surprised the hell out of me. Neil Patrick Harris is really good in this movie. He's supposed to play this creepy, borderline sociopathic individual, and he does a good job. I mean, really, like, Neil Patrick Harris these days is typecasted, probably because of, like How I Met Your Mother and the Harold and Kumar movies, as like this swinging ladies man, hip kind of guy who's like a little bit horny. Not a little bit, he's very horny. This movie, he has to be very reserved and subtly creepy, and he pulls that off really well. I mean, it's like his eyes and his facial expressions do give off this feeling of deep uncomfortable, like you are very uncomfortable looking at this guy, and I was like kind of squirming in my seat a little as he was delivering his dialogue. And that's how good he is. That's a new side of Neil Patrick Harris that I actually really would like to see. I think he could get away with playing a serial killer in some cases. I know people are just going to forever see him as his character in How I Met Your Mother and Harold and Kumar and Doogie Howser. But give him a chance. Hook him up with David Fincher again to play a serial killer. That could work with Tyler Perry in the lead, of course. But do this again, not Tyler Perry, Neil Patrick Harris, please. But the real star of this movie is Rosamund Pike, who I've always really liked. I always liked her, like in Die Another Day and Fracture, and what was that Jack Reacher movie, which I think is so underappreciated. She's great in this movie. She's terrific, and I'm not saying like Oscar worthy, like a lot of people are saying right now, and I don't really think her performance has as many layers as some people are claiming, but as like this psychotic, just odd individual who's just so desperate to fuck over all the men in her life, she's just nuts. And Pike has like all these little beats and subtleties that I think are really cool and fun and interesting to watch. Like her face, like Neil Patrick Harris, is scary. Like after it's revealed what she's really like, just the fact that she's looking at you with this face of I'm going to fuck you up and I will leave you beaten and ruined. That was legitimately scary, especially as a man, like watching her just literally kill a guy at one point while he's having sex with her, just a fake rape. Holy shit. And her face during a lot of these moments is just, it's hypnotizing. So yes, this is her moment to shine, which I really love. That hopefully now, because of this movie, she's going to get a lot more exposure to even bigger roles, because she can handle it. She's a great actress. Let her do her thing. Yes, she's great. And finally, on to Ben Affleck. I'm just going to say this. Leave Ben Affleck alone. Seriously, guys, even after years now, I've liked Ben Affleck. Even when he was considered a bad actor, I've liked Ben Affleck. I've stood by him. And now that he's won an Oscar, he's a very good director. The guy can act, okay? He's good in this. He's not miscast. I mean, his role is really just to be this dopey jock dude that just has this baffled, like confused look on his face. And Ben Affleck pulls that off really well. He's perfectly cast for this role, and he just has this look of just shock, like, what the fuck is going on? What the hell have I gotten myself into? Why is this happening to me? His whole world around him is just collapsing, and everything and everybody is just looking to attack him. And Ben Affleck has this face, like I said, has the face of what the fuck is going on. So, leave Ben alone. Leave my Ben alone. He's good in this movie. I'm gonna say this, because of this movie, and because of like the subtle facial range that he has to go through in this movie, I have more confidence in him being Batman. I do now. I still think that movie's gonna be utter shit, but I have more confidence in him being Batman now that I've seen him do a role like this. And that just has to do with David Fincher. Because the man is an expert director. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to light scenes. He knows how to get a great editing involved. But my biggest problem with Gone Girl is the fact that I feel like, in terms of atmosphere and like memorable atmosphere, this movie is sorely lacking. And it's not meant to be like this atmospheric like trip like Girl with the Dragon Tattoo is supposed to be. Because right from the first frame of that movie, you know that this movie is going to just absorb you in its imagery and music. This movie doesn't do that, which I was actually kind of disappointed by. Actually, not kind of. I was really disappointed by that. Maybe with a second viewing, I'd learn to get past that. But as of now, I just feel like atmospherically, this movie is lacking. And it's weird, because it's the same cinematographer, Jeff Cronenworth, it's the same music composers, like Trent Reznor, of course, of Nine Inch Nails, and Atticus Ross. Same guys, same director, same cinematographer, same music, same art designer, same all that. But it just, none of it really comes together in this memorable way. I feel like the story overwhelms all the imagery, like how pulpy and Hitchcocky the story is, and how weird it gets, and the acting. It overshadows a lot of the imagery and the music. And maybe it's not trying to be like atmospherically rich like Girl with the Dragon Tattoo and Social Network are. But I was still disappointed, because coming from Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, it has some of my all-time favorite like imagery and music. This movie, especially the music, I was really disappointed by that. And it's still okay, but it's nowhere near as memorable, with the exception of one track that I think is extremely memorable. Nowhere near as memorable, though, as any of the tracks in The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. The imagery, of course, is this typical David Fincher, like dipped in green. He always has this greenish hue to his movies, which gives it an extra dark and uncomfortable vibe. And he has that, and it does look cool, but it's nothing special or noteworthy compared to the last few of his movies, especially Girl with the Dragon Tattoo and Social Network. So there's that, and there's also the fact that while I feel like the weird twists and turns this movie goes down, I still feel like it's absurd. It's very absurd, and that's the point. It's supposed to be absurd, but there's just some things that I feel like are not explained all that well. There's some major plot holes, which, is not necessarily a big deal for me, but when it breaks the illusion of the movie, that's when it becomes a big deal for me. And I feel like at some points it does that. Like the whole thing, like what the hell was that whole thing with the dolls that she gives them? I never really fully understood that. And just some stuff like they and I hear that they omit some things from the novel that really would have worked well in the movie, like how Amy lies about having a fear of blood in the novel. I think that would have been an interesting little thing that should have been included in the movie, because it makes her her deceptiveness even more, hard to question, and what really is she thinking? Who really is she? What really are her likes and dislikes? Like, just who Amy is as a person. That would have been a little interesting touch. And another thing with this movie, after giving it a lot of thought, I do think the movie is kind of shallow. And it's trying to say, this movie is one of the most bitter, cynical, mean, and ugly, has one of the most, nastiest views of marriage and monogamy that I have ever seen. Unless it's Blue Valentine, have I ever seen a worse date movie to go on. And as one review I've seen, humorously, your marriage will survive the gay agenda, but it will not survive Gone Girl. Because this movie, I gotta tell you, it just gives me it kind of confirms all my fears of what relationships are in general. And it will not play well to people with trust issues. That's all I'm going to say. If you have trust issues, do not watch this movie. Just stay far away from that. It's not really saying anything substantial. this movie, it's really not. It's really just saying marriages are shitty. Your husband or wife will eventually fuck you over. And look, babies are traps in marriages. Babies are traps. You are trapped. Good job, sucker. You're trapped in this thing for life. Now suck it up and deal with that. And there's literally a point where Ben Affleck shoves his wife against the wall, calls her a cunt, and then she backfires with this whole thing. I am the cunt you married. And if you try to leave me, everyone will hate you. And it puts on this light of what men in a relationship are supposed to do. Like, they're supposed to be there, be the provider, and he gives in at the end because, like he says, he feels a responsibility to this child, and she literally traps him in this relationship, in this evil, sickening marriage. Excuse me, this evil, sickening marriage. So, it's not really saying anything substantial, but because it's so mean and nasty and cynical about it, I don't necessarily agree with its messages, like to some extent, to full extent. But I still think it's interesting. It's a different viewpoint that I feel like is interesting, even if it's not substantial. It's just very hollow. Surface level is interesting. When you really look at it, it's not all that substantial. So there's that. But I will say the final scene is haunting. Is so scary. It's like almost as scary as like the head in the box scene in Seven, or the whole thing with the first couple of Zodiac killings in Zodiac. They are right up there with just primal fear, except for a completely different reason. Where Ben Affleck has this look on his face when they announce, when Amy announces, yes, we're going to have a baby, and everyone is so excited and happy. And Ben Affleck has this look on his face like, oh shit, I am fucked. And to me as a man, that look just scared the hell out of me. And the whole thing with him going, you know, what are you thinking? What have we done to each other? What will we do to each other? And the credits just roll and it fades out. Credits just roll from there. And there's just this void in my stomach. This horrible, sickening feeling in the pit of my stomach. And my jaw just dropped. And I went, oh shit. So, Fincher's a master of shocking you. And with this ending, even more than the box cutter kill scene, this movie shocked me. And it really was better than I expected it to be, which I really was like, wow, that was great. That was superb. It was fun. I had a fun time watching this movie, even though it's supposed to be like this dark, disturbing, violent movie, which it is. It's still dark. It's still disturbing. Very gruesome in one scene. And it didn't feel like 2.5 hours, which is a miracle. Because it felt like an hour and a half. When the credits rolled, I kind of had to I had this thought to myself, that was 2.5 hours? That's it? That felt like an hour and a half. Really, it just 2.5 hours just flew by, which was awesome. And I love that feeling. I like I said about The Raid too. I love the feeling that you've been in the theater for a while. Like, you are consciously not aware of it, but you still feel like you got 2.5 hours worth of material, which is excellent. It just goes to show that David Fincher, master of pacing, master of writing. Love David Fincher. I love him. I cannot wait to see what his next movie is going to be. Just stick with Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross and Jeff Cronenweth, the cinematographer. You guys will be fine. Just keep making movies with those three. David Fincher, you'll be good to go. So, do I recommend Gone Girl? Yes. Absolutely. If you reach the end of this review, you've already seen it. You have your opinion on it. My opinion is, yes. Definitely go out and watch it. It's one of the best movies I've seen so far this year. I really enjoyed it. I probably will enjoy it more on a second viewing. So, definitely go out and support this movie, because it's awesome. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. If you like what you see, subscribe. If you've seen Gone Girl, let me know what you thought about it. What you like about it, what you dislike about it. And as always, thank you for watching. Have a good one, guys.